Welcome back, everybody, to the Amazing Education Station. It's about the information that's benefiting you and you need to know. It's not about the video. Yeah, well, because I just have my phone. So today's topic is there going to be a housing market crash, meaning prices of houses drop drastically right now in April 2022? Well, it's possible, big possibility, because people sort of drastically increase the prices of their housing, increase the prices of not only that, but new cars, used cars, rents, food. We've got a lot of inflation, and people's incomes have not necessarily risen. And probably, of course, everyone's in a unique situation, but so wages have probably not kept track with the inflation caused by over money printing. Yes, you heard it. We printed just way too much money in this United States. So yeah, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor and not a real estate agent, just a master educator. Anyway, so you might want to watch out if you're thinking about buying a home. Prices could be a lot lower soon, but we don't really know, and it's hard to predict how long it might take for prices to maybe decelerate. They might increase just because of inflation, but maybe not as fast, and so wages might come up. But there's another issue, which is that interest rates, especially mortgage rates, which is how much interest people pay to borrow money to purchase a home, those look like they're going up. And so it means maybe fewer people in the future would buy a house compared to in the recent past, because the rates, they just wouldn't be able to afford it, or they would unless wages start to really go up, then they would not be approved. Somebody, when I say somebody trying to buy a house based on their income to get a mortgage would be approved for a less expensive house or a smaller mortgage. And they could also pay more for down payment and still get the same price house or a more expensive house. But overall, if you run the numbers in general, when mortgage rates rise, then the cost of the housing can't be as high, so then housing prices will come down somewhat. Now, I said it also depends on inflation and the insane money printing with the Federal Reserve and the government and Treasury and all that. And so it's a little bit complicated, but it looks very likely that there would be housing market crash. Somebody pointed out there are many amazing videos on YouTube, and somebody pointed out, well, a lot of people might try to sell now with the realization that housing prices will be lower in a year or two. Then if you're going to sell in the next couple of years, you better sell right now. So then if people start to do that, as housing prices start to come down and people pay attention to that, then you can have sort of a whole bunch of people pile in, very much like selling stocks all at the same time, because they don't want to have money lost by waiting. Wait to the future, and then your investments or your house are worth a lot less. So if people own two houses and they need to get rid of one, or however many houses they have, maybe they're just downsizing to an apartment, which sometimes that's good financial, makes a lot of financial sense to downsize, or just to a smaller house. Say you have a large family, but they grow up and move out of the house, then maybe you should have a smaller house. You could also do house hacking, take a look at that, and it's maybe useful financially depending on where you live. And it sounds bad, but it's actually maybe a good thing for certain people, and especially real estate investors. Turning a very large property into multiple living spaces in the right area could be very beneficial for everybody, and so people don't use up a lot of extra unused space. So anyway, so it's very likely when you have a rapid increase like we have had in the last few years, sort of, people might say, a shocking rise in home prices, that, it just makes sense that they would come down. Now, another major catalyst or reason why housing prices would come down is we're going to have a recession in the United States, and it's just expected. It's very hard to predict, and especially hard to predict the exact time. Like timing a recession, it could be right now, and because they haven't done calculations, we don't know. But once people understand, we're in a recession, and companies have been going bankrupt, or more and more begin to go bankrupt, if you have many unemployed people and what's called a slowdown in the economy, meaning basically incomes go down, sales go down, companies' sales and profits go down. Why? Because of all the layoffs, as I said. And we have the COVID situation, which interrupted supply chains. We have conflict in Europe, of course, interrupting supplies of needed goods and services. And so it makes it very difficult for companies. And so you can start to have poor profits and weak companies going out of business. And so there you go. If enough people get laid off and don't have money to spend, they just barely have enough for food and whatever, and then recession is not unreasonable. And then how can they be buying new houses like they were in the last few years? So they might just want to rent, and a lot of people even go homeless and live in automobiles and on the street, and wow, it's tough. So that would cause housing so-called downward pressure. In other words, lack of buyers with a lot of money, because people have spent their money. So there's a huge increase in foreclosures, banks taking properties. That's another reason. So if there were people that say they had many rental properties, or just individual families, or people that couldn't pay for their mortgage, and now mortgages are finally due, and then people find themselves in a situation where they can't pay. So what happens? The bank starts the process to take the house. The people living there, even if they're renters and they have to leave, whoever they are, if the bank is going to sell the house, and there's a massive increase right now, I believe. Do your own research, but anyway. So then a lot of foreclosure houses can also come on the market, and that would make prices lower, because it's said that usually banks, they just want to get rid of the house. They're not real estate agents. They want to get rid of the house soon. It costs them money to have a house that is just sitting there, and the value is dropping when nobody's owning it, nobody's taking care of it, and it could be damaged when nobody's watching. So that's bad. Okay, so you got to consider all that and expect prices to come down. It might be a good time to buy after prices come down. It might be a good time to sell right now while they're still high. So good luck, everybody.